The ranch lay where the plains gave up and the hills began, a lonely stretch of earth that seemed forgotten even by time. Wind moved through the dry grass like a sigh that never quite ended. Fences leaned the way tired men do. The house stood firm but quiet, too quiet, like it had learned not to expect anyone. Ethan Cole had lived there for 12 years alone. He rose before the sun every morning, not because he loved dawn, but because silence was easier to manage when the world was still asleep. He fed the horses, checked the cattle, repaired what broke, and spoke to no one unless necessary. Words felt heavy to him now. They reminded him of things he had buried. Once Ethan had been different. Once laughter had lived in this house. Once there had been a woman who hummed while cooking and left muddy footprints near the door because she never remembered to wipe her boots. Once, the fire that took her had also taken something from him. Something he never managed to name. Grief didn't scream anymore. It settled. It hardened. It became routine. People in the nearest town called him the quiet rancher. Some said he was cold. Others said he was kind but broken. Ethan didn't care. He had land, animals, and the steady rhythm of work. That was enough, or so he told himself. The storm came fast that afternoon, thunder rolling like anger across the sky, rain slashing sideways. Ethan had been riding the outer fence line when he saw the shape near the old shed. At first, he thought it was a deer. Then it moved. She stood there, thin and soaked, clutching a small cloth bag to her chest. Her hair was dark and plastered to her face, her dress too light for the weather. She didn't run when he approached. She didn't even step back. She just watched him. "Hey!" Ethan called over the rain. "You lost?" No response. He dismounted, rain dripping from his hat. "Miss?" Still nothing. He noticed then. The way her eyes followed his mouth, not his eyes. The way she didn't react to thunder cracking directly overhead. Understanding came quietly. She was deaf. Ethan swallowed. He hadn't expected this. Hadn't expected anyone. He gestured toward the house, slow and careful. "Come out of the rain." She hesitated only a second before nodding. That nod, small, uncertain, would follow him for the rest of his life. Her name was Lena. He learned that later through writing, gestures, patience. At first she barely spoke at all, her voice rough, unused. Words came slow and soft like they'd learned to hide. She flinched when doors closed too loudly. She startled when hands moved too fast. Ethan noticed everything. He didn't ask questions right away. He gave her dry clothes, warm food, a place to sleep near the fire. That first night she sat rigid on the edge of the chair, bag still clutched to her chest. "You're safe here," he said, unsure if she could read his lips clearly. He pointed to himself. "Ethan." She touched her chest. "Lena." Her fingers trembled. Over the next days, pieces of her story emerged. She had grown up in a house where shouting replaced conversation, where bottles lined the counter and apologies were never spoken. Her father drank away what little kindness he once had. When her mother died, the house fell apart completely. Lena became invisible. Her deafness made her inconvenient, expensive, easy to ignore. She was a burden, Ethan read from the notepad she used. The words were uneven but clear. When the drinking got worse, so did everything else. One night she ran. She walked until her feet bled and the storm found her. And then his ranch. At first, Ethan told himself it was temporary. Just until he found help. Just until she could go somewhere better. But days turned into weeks. She helped in small ways, feeding chickens, folding laundry, sitting quietly near the barn sketching the animals. She spoke little, but when she smiled, it was like watching the sun break through cloud. Ethan hadn't noticed how quiet his life had been until her silence filled it differently. He learned to communicate without words. He learned patience, learned to slow his movements, learned to look people in the eyes again. At night, he sometimes caught her watching him, as if trying to understand the man who never raised his voice. One evening, she handed him a drawing. It was of the ranch house, but there were two figures standing on the porch. Ethan's chest tightened. The realization came not all at once, but in fragments. It came when he noticed how Lena reacted to vibrations in the floor long before she saw anyone enter the room. It came when she responded to certain sounds, not hearing them but sensing them. It came when he caught her humming. Not loudly, barely audible, Ethan froze when he heard it. She stopped immediately, eyes wide, fear flashing across her face. He shook his head quickly, smiled, pointed to his ear, then to her. "You can hear. Something?" he asked slowly. She hesitated, then nodded. Later, through careful writing and gestures, she explained. She wasn't completely deaf. She had been told she was, treated as if she was. Eventually, she believed it. The world had decided her limits for her, and she had lived inside them. That night, Ethan sat alone long after she went to bed. The realization settled heavy and profound. She hadn't just been silenced by biology. She had been silenced by cruelty. Ethan didn't rush to fix her. He didn't push doctors or tests or labels. Instead, he did something simpler. He believed her. They practiced sounds together, soft ones, safe ones. He showed her how to feel vibrations through wood, through metal, through his voice. Each small breakthrough felt like a miracle. But the real change wasn't hers. It was his. He started talking more, laughing sometimes. He cooked meals that took effort. He fixed the broken swing near the barn. The ranch felt alive again. One evening, Lena placed her hand over his chest, feeling his heartbeat. "You're sad," she signed softly, "Ethan." Nodded. "So am I," she replied. They sat like that for a long time. Two broken people learning how to exist in the same quiet. The past doesn't disappear quietly. It shows up uninvited. Her father arrived one afternoon, drunk and angry, demanding she return. Lena froze. Ethan stood between them. No shouting, no fists, just a firm voice and unwavering eyes. "She's not going anywhere," Ethan said. When the man left, cursing and staggering, Lena collapsed into tears, soundless but violent. Ethan held her. And in that moment, something inside him finally broke open. Not grief, not anger. Hope. Months passed. Lena's confidence grew. Her voice strengthened. Her laughter, real laughter, filled the house. She chose to stay. Not because she had nowhere else, but because she wanted to. Ethan realized then that saving her hadn't been the miracle. Being changed by her was. He learned that silence can hold kindness, that healing doesn't demand noise, that sometimes the people we think we're rescuing are the ones teaching us how to live again. One morning, as the sun rose over the hills, Lena stood beside him, hand in his. "I hear you," she said. And for the first time in years, Ethan believed he was truly heard too. Epilogue. What remains? The ranch is no longer quiet, not because it's loud, but because it's alive. And sometimes that's enough.